What started out as a good road trip for the Astros, taking 2 out of 3 against the Mariners, ended on a rather sour note as they unfortunately and inexcusably, might I add, lost 2 out of 3 to the last place Oakland Athletics in what is going to be their final visit to the Oakland Coliseum, with the A's set to play in West Sacramento for the next 3 seasons as they plan to relocate to Las Vegas towards the latter half of the decade. But despite that, the Astros are still in first place in the AL West. Why is that, you might ask? Well, we'll break it down over the course of this video. Dude, it feels nice to be in first place, alone by ourselves at the very least. I mean, this is also, of course, the very soonest end of the season that we've actually gotten in first place. We weren't in first place, at all, last season until close to the very end. So, I mean, it does feel good to kind of knock that out of the way this early. The only question, though, is whether it's going to be a matter of whether we can hold on to it or not. But anyway, let's break down this rather inexcusable series loss to the Oakland A's that, after the Astros had dropped the first 2 games, were able to salvage the series finale and also end up with a winning mark lifetime at the Oakland Coliseum, the only other AL ball club to do so in this ballpark, other than the A's themselves. So anyway, let's talk about it. Starting off with a couple of injury updates. Kyle Tucker, of course, he is still progressing rather nicely. Dana Brown did hint at him possibly coming back, maybe close to around mid to late August or something like that. I really, really hope he comes back sooner. I mean, let's face it, dude. I feel like there's just something that Dana Brown and some of the health professionals behind the scenes on all this failing to admit something to us. Personally, I think if Kyle Tucker's shin, it might as well be broken at this point. He really has not been progressing that much. I mean, he's running, which is great, or I mean, he's hitting in the batting cages, which is good. I'm not sure if he's actually totally running at this point, but I mean, he's doing not too shabby, but at the same time, he's still not even close to a rehab assignment at this point. Victor Caratini, though, was able to get activated off the injured list during this series for Game 2 of this series, and he did end up hitting a home run as what was actually, unfortunately, the only run that the Astros would score in that game in run support of Jake Bloss. And I'm going to talk about Jake Bloss more so in a minute. But talking about the first 2 games of this series as a whole, Spencer Arrighetti and Jake Bloss, respectively, started these 2 games. And I mean, they really did not do that well. I mean, I would probably say Arrighetti is, he did pitch better than Bloss over this outing. And for what Arrighetti has given us over the course of the season, I personally think he's just okay. I'm going to take what he's going to be giving us. I'm sure Joe Espada is going to take what Arrighetti is going to give him, that kind of thing. But at the same time, dude, Jake Bloss, he is not ready. I mean, I hate to say that, but he is just not ready. Having to go from AA to straight to the big league level, obviously, I mean, it's not really a norm for players to do that these days. I mean, he's done okay, I guess. He has had a couple of good outings, but he has yet to throw more than 80-something pitches. I don't think he's thrown more than 90 pitches or so in a big league start. Part of that is because he's never pitched in AAA. The only exception to that, if you can even call it that, is when he pitched there for a rehab assignment, when he was still rehabbing that shoulder injury of his. But, I mean, it's better than having to go with a bullpen game once a week, but at the same time, man, I mean, again, like I said, he's just not ready. And I'm really hoping that Justin Verlander and possibly Luis Garcia can come back soon. I mean, Verlander is likely inching close to a return. I'm not sure whether he's going to need a rehab assignment or not. But Luis Garcia, the only time he has only thrown 1 bullpen session since his last rehab start all the way back on July 4th, which was almost 3 weeks ago. I mean, I'm not saying we need to rush him, but I'm not sure but the Astros for the most part are really gingerly helping him work his way back after coming off of Tommy John surgery. It's been almost, I think, I don't even know at this point, 15 months or so since he had it. And like I said, I'm not sure what's up. But to be honest, dude, I think us fans, we have come to the conclusion that we need starting pitching. There's a couple of good starting pitching out there. I mean, the one name that comes to my mind right away is Garrett Crochet of the Chicago White Sox. But to be honest, I think what the White Sox are going to want for him is not something that we can certainly give him, because there's no way we're going to be packed. I mean, the only way that I can see us getting him is if we package up a bunch of our highly ranked prospects like Bryce Matthews, who's been really good. Also Pedro Leon, I mean, maybe, he's been hitting great, but like at the same time, the Astros don't have a spot for him. Here, hang on a second. But like I said, Pedro Leon is decent. He's hitting great, but the Astros have a very crowded outfield and they don't have a spot for him on the roster. And there are some words that there's some rumors out there that he could be a prospect that the Astros could deal at the deadline in exchange for possibly a bat or something. But, and I'll try to record a video at some point talking more about trade deadline acquisitions the Astros could possibly get. Another name that the Astros could be pursuing is this other player. I might have to look up his exact name. But he can play first base, he can play third base, which is huge because, while the Astros do have a couple of guys who certainly can play third base when Bregman gets the day off, like Mauricio Dubon is not a bad first baseman, or third baseman rather. Aledmys Diaz, who the Astros actually recently got on a minor league deal about a week ago, and was then added back onto the major league roster. And his presence in the clubhouse was certainly a good thing. He did actually miss the season with the A's, or start the season on the injured list, and then the A's DFA'd him after getting just 3 hits. But obviously the Astros are hoping that he's got something left in the tank. He's a fine utility player, but his bat has seen better days, that is for sure. But yeah, these first 2 games of this series, if that doesn't sum up the fact that we need starting pitching, then I don't know what does. Because Arrighetti has been okay, but Jake Bloss is just not ready. Because, like I said, having to go from Double-A all the way to the big league level, that's just not something that a player is certainly accustomed to. And obviously, it certainly did seem like it backfired on us. Sure, Jake Bloss has had a couple of good starts in this mix, but overall, he's just not very good. So again, I'm really hoping that we can get some of our injured starting pitching back, like Luis Garcia, Justin Verlander especially. But Lance McCullers, man, he might as well be out for the rest of the season at this point. But again, at the end of the day, these are the 4 words: we need starting pitching. Getting a bat, of course, would be great. The Astros have always been known to get a bat at the trade deadline each year, whether he ends up being a rental or not. But yeah, enough rambling on the first 2 games of this series. Breaking down the series finale. The Astros did score first in the first inning. This was the first game of the only game of this series where they scored first, with Yonder Diaz getting a sac fly to score Jose Altuve from third base, one of 2 sac flies he would hit on this game. And then the Astros would get another base runner in this inning, but unfortunately that 1 run on that sac fly would be all they'd get this inning. Going into the bottom of the first, Lawrence Butler, who has arguably been a thorn in our side this entire series. I thought Brent Rooker was going to be the guy to keep in check, but Lawrence Butler had certainly proved this is something that we're definitely missing, because, he was definitely a thorn in our side this entire series, like I said. And after he hit a first pitch leadoff double and eventually came around to scoring that to tie the game, that certainly cemented my point on that. But thankfully, that this game would not be tied for long, as in the top of the second inning, Jose Altuve would get an RBI single to give the Astros the lead, which, as I pull up the box score here, that would be one of 2 RBIs that he would that he would get on this game, and also one of 3 hits. As far as RBI totals go, by the way, Jose Altuve and Alex Bregman and also Yonder Diaz had chipped in 2 RBIs each, and then also Chas McCormick had chipped in a pair of RBIs, including one on a solo home run to give the Astros a 3-1 lead in the 5th inning. Going here into the 6th, the Astros would then score 1 more run on an RBI single by Jeremy Pena. Then the top of the 7th was when the Astros came alive and got to JP Sears, who has arguably been pretty decent this season. I'll give him that. But the Astros got the first 2 guys on base, with John Singleton getting a base hit, and then Chas McCormick getting hit by a pitch to put the first 2 guys on. Jose Altuve would then bat one of those guys home on an RBI double, and then Bregman batted home both of those guys who were in scoring position for him to make it 7-1 Astros. And then Yonder Diaz would cement this game as he would hit his second sac fly of the game to make it 8-1 Astros. That would be the final score of this game, as Brian Abreu, Taylor Scott, and also Brian King would get the final 9 outs in this game, giving our pieces of the other 2 pieces of our 3-headed monster a much well-needed rest in preparation for our series against the Dodgers. So that should be a very, very fun series. I'm super, super excited for that, mainly because I'm actually going to be at Friday night's game. So hopefully we're going to see him. So hopefully I'll be able to see a win for that series. It's going to be a madhouse, I would imagine. But yeah, for the series itself, dude, this was a rather tough series. The A's, of course, have been really hot, but getting practically blanked the first 2 games of this series, there's really not that much of an excuse for that, if I'm being honest. So anyway, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you want to watch any of my other 2 videos, then click these ones that are above my shoulders. Leave a like if you guys enjoyed, like I said. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Go Stros.